Hello. Welcome to Friday, Find Your Flow. Just getting my ponytail set up here in this nice early morning. It's funny, when I started on Insight Timer, I was still doing it around this time of the morning here in Texas, and it was already light out. It's just so crazy that it's so dark outside right now, because I was even thinking, I should try to do some things outside. I've seen some people do things outside, but now it's just too dark. So we'll go ahead and get started. It looks like I've got, let's see, who's here? It doesn't let me know who's here. Oh, I think maybe I have to look at it up there. I'm not sure. Let's go ahead and arrive on our mats here. If you can hear me okay, let me know in the chat or give me a little heart. Hopefully you can hear me okay. So I've been working on going back to the basics in my classes. Really having beginner yoga classes, but it's not necessarily just for people who are beginners, because each time we come to the mat, I like to think that we are coming to the mat with a beginner's mind. And that kind of approach, excuse me, can help you in a lot of different things, because if you take the perspective of somebody who is coming at something for the first time, you might notice different things. You might focus on something that you may have let go as you've continued to practice. So today we're going to be thinking a lot about, for our body-wise, thinking about our hips. So a lot of times you'll hear me say, or you'll hear a yoga teacher say, hinging from the hips. And I like to think of it like kind of a book or a folder where your spine is nice and long and you're coming down in one piece rather than folding like that paper. So it's kind of hard to see. But that's the basic idea, is finding these hip creases and then folding from there, bringing your chest and your heart forward, keeping a straight line from your crown to your head. A lot of times we want to fold over, bending from our waist, and that can cause some issues and things like that. So if we keep this way, we're keeping our core nice and strong, and we're folding. And another thing with our forward fold, specifically, when we come into the fold and you start noticing, hey, ow, 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 keep your knees nice and bent. Your belly, thighs, and ribs can touch your thighs. Your belly, ribs, and chest can touch your thighs as you come into that forward fold. And if the ground is too far away here, you can have your blocks underneath. They have a couple different levels. And let your head hang. And then as you hinge up, you're hinging from your hips. You're raising your shoulders up, keeping that nice straight line, and then reaching up. So that's one of our focuses today. Another focus is being kind to yourself. And focusing on your practice is a way of being kind to yourself, because you're focusing on what you need for your body. So with that, let's go ahead and start getting centered on our mat and thinking about that self-kindness. And I'd like us to come down into a child's pose. So from your knees out to the sides, maybe your toes are together behind you, shifting your hips back toward your feet. And then you see you have that nice hinge there, and then allow your chest to reach forward. You can have your head on a block, your fists, or maybe your chest reaches all the way down, your forehead reaches down. Wherever you are, start to come in contact with your breath here. Bringing those inhales and exhales in and out of your nose. As you inhale, starting that 3-part breath, bringing the breath in through your nose all the way down to your belly, your ribs, your chest. And then as you exhale, imagine that air pouring out from your belly, ribs, and chest. Continuing that breath, being thankful that you've got the breath. My poor kitty has a little stuffy nose, so hopefully that's not too loud. Allowing that breath to start balancing out inhales and your exhales. Taking this time to notice how you're feeling this morning or today. Scanning your body. Just taking note of what feels like it would like a little extra kindness. And notice what parts are feeling kind to you, something that feels particularly good. And then allow yourself to release any kind of that judgment and float on. Let your mind be eased and gentle. Feel the parts of your body that are supported by the earth. Feel them grounded into your mat. And feel how the earth is supporting you. And you are right here in this moment. Nothing else for you to be concerned about for this next 50 minutes or so, except for what is happening on your mat. If you came with your own intention for class today, go ahead and think of that now. Otherwise, I can offer the intention of allowing yourself kindness in every pose. And then as you're ready, start to bring your hands in closer to your body, your knees back underneath your hips, your hands coming underneath your shoulders. Starting to come into a few cat-cows here. So as you inhale, let your belly drop down toward the earth. Rolling your shoulders back, your seat goes up, your chest moves forward, your gaze goes up to where the ceiling meets the wall. And then noticing where your hips are going in this as you move your pelvis forward, as you round your spine. Head comes in between your upper arms. Continuing this breath and movement, Noticing the shape of the crease of your hips as you come into your scared cat and your cow. Exhaling as you press into the earth. Inhaling as your belly drips down. Your seat goes up. Continuing with that breath and movement. Adding any kind of organic movement that might feel good for your body today. And once you finish your next round, come into your tabletop, neutral spine, finding your placement here. Your fingertips are spread wide, and so your wrists are in alignment with your shoulders and also with your knees, and your knees are right below your hips. So you have a hip distance between your hands and your knees, and since your lower legs are parallel, you have the hip distance between your feet behind you as well. So from here, we're going to try to keep that hip distance kind of like you're on train tracks. Imagine yourself balancing in that way. Take your right toes to the back of your mat, curl your toes under, and then shift your heel back as you come into a little calf stretch here. And then notice your alignment again. Where are your hips? Did your left or your right hip start floating up? Bring it back down. Try to keep yourself squared to the mat as you continue this stretch. And then coming back up, just keeping your toes back, reaching your right fingertips forward. Again, finding yourself leveling out, your hips leveling out to the earth. And you can stay right here and really lengthen out, or maybe you'd like to raise that back leg. Your toes are pointed down. Your left arm is next to your left ear. Continuing to breathe here. Keeping a nice straight line. And then place your hand down, place your knee down, find your tabletop. Hip distance apart. From here, reach your left toes back, curl your toes under, make sure it comes directly back. You might want to look underneath yourself to make sure that you're doing that, and then guide your heel back. I'm still recovering from an ankle injury, so this actually feels good, but I have to be careful with it. Giving myself some self-care here. Squaring my hips to the mat. And then finding neutral position here and reaching my right fingertips forward. Lengthening out, squaring my hips to the mat. And then maybe raising that back leg, toes pointed down. Right arm next to your right ear. Reaching out, working on your balance in your core, continuing to breathe, and then release your hand down, release your knee down, make some circles around your wrists, and the other direction. Maybe even come back onto your heels, bring your elbows together, hands together, and give yourself a little rotation of the wrists before we go into our first downward facing dog. Shake out the fingers. So from here, curl your toes under and raise your seat up high, keeping your knees slightly bent so that you can really feel that seat go up to the air as you press your chest back. Notice that hinge in your hip crease. Walk your dog here by bending one knee and lowering the opposite heel to the ground. And then shifting to the other side. Going back and forth here, waking your legs up. And then coming to stillness, allow your heels to reach down toward the earth. Wherever they hover or land is fine. Continuing to breathe in that upside down V. On your next inhale, look to the front of your mat, and as you exhale, start to tiptoe your feet toward your hands, coming into your forward fold. Maybe your heels of your hands reach up, and you're in your forward fold. Take a fist and place it in between your feet. And you can see that's about hip distance apart for your feet. It's a good way of thinking about that. Now on your next inhale, going to raise your chest up halfway, hinging from your hips and supporting yourself with your hands on your shins or your thighs. So you're like a upside down L or an open book. Chest is down, or chest is pointing down. Gaze is down. Seat is back. And now as you exhale, hinging from your hips for your forward fold, again, bending your knees so your belly and thighs can touch. And then inhale, hinging up, coming all the way to standing. And exhale, bring your hands heart center. Allow your thumbs to rest at your heart space and come back to this moment. And breathe. From here, on your next inhale, sweep your arms up toward the sky. And then as you exhale, release your right hand down toward your right hip and reach over to the right side, maybe even rolling that left shoulder back, looking up. And then inhale, shoulders over your hips, fingertips come up. Exhale, over to the left. Left arm down your leg, right arm reaches over. Roll your right shoulder back, keeping your chest nice and open. Inhale up. Exhale again, over to the right. Inhale, reaching up. Both arms, exhale, over to the left. One more time each side. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale to the right. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale to the left. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, twist to the right. Bring your arms down and wrap your arms. Left arm goes in front, right arm goes behind. On your next inhale, turn your chest to the front, opening your arms up, and then twist to the other side. And then inhale, reach open, roll your shoulders back, maybe even a slight chest raise toward the ceiling, bringing your hips forward. And then exhale, coming back to standing with your hands heart center. And take a breath here. Getting ready for our sun salutations here. Really thinking about keeping our feet hip distance. Again, maybe even imagining that you are on train tracks, that you've got parallel lines that you're staying on as you stand, and then as you bring the foot back, Your feet are going to be parallel to the sides of your mat. So if you look down at your feet, your pinky toes and the back side of your heel are in straight line. And so that helps your knees and toes point in the same direction. And then your hip points, this front part of your hip, where the bony part is right above your ankles, and that's right below your shoulders. And your head is above your heart, chin parallel to the ground. You can roll your shoulders back and keep your arms open to the front. Take a breath here. And then on your next inhale, reach your arms up to the sky. Forward fold, hinging from your hips on the exhale. Using your blocks if you need them. Half lift on your inhale, supporting yourself with your hands. Upside down L. Forward fold on your exhale, planting your hands and taking your feet to the back of your mat to find your plank. And then lower your knees down to the ground so you still have a straight line from the crown of your head to your seat. And then as you exhale, chaturanga, lowering your body down by bending your elbows back. And then lower your hips down, roll your shoulders back, bring your hands forward. Elbows are underneath your shoulders for Sphinx here, or any back bend of your choice. When your next exhale comes, bring your hands underneath your shoulders, curl your toes, press up, maybe your seat goes back, and then raise that seat up into a downward facing dog. On your next inhale, look to the front of your mat and exhale as you step your feet forward, finding that hip distance apart. Forward fold. Half lift on your inhale. Forward fold on your exhale. Inhale, coming all the way to standing, hinging from your hips, raising up. Exhale, hands, heart, center. And again. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, hinge from your hips, forward fold. Half lift on your inhale. Forward fold on your exhale. Plant your hands, feet go back. Plank. Inhale, shift your shoulders over your wrists. You can lower your knees down here as you exhale, bend your elbows back towards your feet, chaturanga. Lower your hips to the ground, roll your shoulders back, arms come forward, making right angles with your elbows that you can't see because my cat is there, but your elbows are underneath your shoulders, so they are also hip distance apart. And then take your hands back underneath your shoulders, curl your toes, raise your seat, downward facing dog. Inhale, look to the front of your mat, and exhale as you step or hop your feet towards your hands, forward fold. Half lift on the inhale, forward fold on the exhale. Inhale, coming all the way to standing. Reach your fingertips up high, hinging from your hips. Shoulders above your hips, and exhale, hands, heart, center. One more time here. Inhale, reach up. Forward fold on your exhale. Half lift on your inhale. Forward fold on your exhale. Plant your hands. Feet go to the back of your mat. Plank. You shift your shoulders forward on the inhale. Lower your knees. And as you exhale, chaturanga, bending your elbows back towards your heels. Lower your hips. Roll your shoulders back. Bring your hands forward. Elbows underneath your shoulders for Sphinx. On your next inhale, bring your hands underneath your shoulders, curl your toes, raise your seat, downward facing dog. Take 5 full breaths here, finding the resting portion of this pose, or you can come down to tabletop or child's pose. After about 5 breaths, we'll all meet in downward facing dog. So take a few breaths. Notice how your body is feeling. Give yourself some kind thoughts as a gift of self-care. As you're ready, make your way back into child's pose if you're not there. Into downward facing dog if you're not there already. And on your next inhale, look to the front of your mat and step forward on your exhale, hinging from your hips, bending your knees so that your belly and thighs and chest can rest on your thighs. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, coming all the way to standing. Reach your fingertips up high. Exhale, hands, heart, center. Take a breath here. Releasing your hands down, finding your way to the front of the mat again if you've lost your way. I'm going to move my blanket because I'll be stepping back and I don't want to step onto the blanket. So from here, again, thinking about those train tracks, we're going to be coming back into a crescent pose, which is like a high lunge with your arms up. And when you are coming back into these poses, one thing to continue to think about is keeping your base, your feet, hip distance apart. However, sometimes when your toes are all pointed forward, it may help to bring your feet a little bit more east-west as you step back and forward to create a bigger base for yourself. So at least hip distance, but maybe a little bit further out to the outsides of your mat if you need a little help getting your balance. So thinking about that, on our next inhale, sweep your arms up. Forward fold on your exhale. Half lift on your inhale. Forward fold on your exhale, and inhale coming all the way up to standing. Find your chair pose here, bending your knees, your seat goes back. Feel this hinge in your hips as your chest still reaches forward, is open forward, but you still have that straight line from the crown of your head to your sit bones. And then bring your hands heart center. And from here, take your right foot to the back of your mat, keeping that front knee bent. Step back and find your shoulders above your hips. Back leg is straight and strong. Again, making sure that you have that hip distance apart with your feet to keep your balance. And if the balance is still, you need a little bit more of a base, bring your left foot over to the left and your right foot over to the right and see if that helps. And reach your fingertips up. Back leg straight and strong. And breathe. And from here, take your hands down on either side of your front foot and then bring that back foot to meet the front, coming into your forward fold at the front of your mat. Half lift on the inhale, forward fold on the exhale. Inhale, coming all the way to standing, reach your fingertips up high. Exhale, hands, heart, center. Take a breath here, we'll go to the other side. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, find your chair, bend your knees, hinge from your hips, bringing your chest forward. Maybe even tilting your pelvis just slightly so you can keep that straight line. And then maybe bringing your hands heart center. Going ahead, bring your weight to your right foot and bring that left foot to the back of your mat and your shoulders come up. Take a breath here, find your balance, making sure your back leg is straight and strong, your toes and knees are all pointing forward in the same direction. Your feet are on those train tracks. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, bring your hands down on either side of your foot. Bring that back foot to meet the front, forward fold. Half lift on the inhale. Forward fold on the exhale. Inhale, come all the way to standing. Reach your fingertips up high. Exhale, hands, heart, center. Take a breath here. I'm going to kind of reverse that and come into that crescent pose from a runner's lunge. So let's go ahead and make our way down there with our chair in between. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, find your chair, bending your knees, hinging from your hips so slightly forward, but still keeping your chest open. And then on your next exhale, come into a forward fold, lowering your hands down toward the earth or to the earth. Bend your knees so that your belly and thighs can touch. Half lift on your inhale, creating that upside down L. Exhale, forward fold, plant your hands to the ground and bring your right foot to the back of the mat. Find your runner's lunge. If the ground is too far away, use your blocks. Again, looking at the distance between your feet, keeping that railroad tracks. Back leg is straight and strong, and then on your inhale, raise your shoulders over your hips. Fingertips come up. Find your crescent. Take a few breaths here, exploring this pose. Being kind to yourself in this pose, finding all the balance that you need. And then exhale, bring your hands down to either side of your foot, and bring that back foot to meet the front, forward fold. Half lift on the inhale. Forward fold on the exhale. Inhale, hinging up from your hips, reaching up. Exhale, hands, heart, center. Take a breath here, and then we'll go to the other side. Inhale, reach your arms up. Find your chair on your exhale, bending your knees, your hips go back. You're hinging forward with your hips. Your chest is staying nice and open. On your next exhale, forward fold. Half lift on the inhale. Forward fold on the exhale, planting your hands on either sides of your feet and bringing your left foot to the back of your mat. Runner's lunge. Using your blocks, if the ground is far away, your belly and thigh can still be touching here. Finding your balance. Maybe this side is a little bit different because of injury or just what your balance is today on this side. Every day is different. On your next inhale, raise your shoulders over your hips, fingertips up toward the sky, and breathe. Explore this pose. Back leg is straight and strong. Your toes and knees are all pointed forward. Your feet are at least hip distance apart, or maybe even a little wider to create a bigger base. Breathe. And then on your next exhale, bring your hands forward, runner's lunge, and then bring that back foot to meet the front, forward fold. Maybe heel toe your feet out a little bit further than hip distance and reach for opposite elbows. Your knees can be bent. You can ragdoll here, maybe saying yes and no with your head to release any tension that's built up. And then release your hands back to the earth. Heel toe your feet in to find that hip distance again. Your fist in between. General idea there. Half lift on your inhale. Forward fold on your exhale. Inhale, coming all the way to standing. Exhale, hands, heart, center. Take a few breaths here. Notice how your body is feeling after having this movement dedicated to self-kindness. And from here, we're going to come into our yogi squat. So bringing your feet to the outsides of your mat, your toes pointed out to the sides. And you'll be bending your knees, same direction as your toes. Seat is lowering down. And find your yogi squat here. It may be up here. It may be down further. You might want a block or two to place under your seat. Roll your shoulders back if that's possible for you. Noticing again the importance of your hip mobility here. Take a few breaths. And as you're ready, if you haven't come out already, bring your hands forward, lift your seat up, point your toes forward, bring them back underneath your hips, half lift, forward fold, and come all the way to standing. Hands, heart, center. Maybe doing a little bit releasing of the hips here. Feet coming a little wider than hip distance apart. And let's bring our hips, really focusing on the hips here as you make some nice circles. You kind of feel like maybe a corkscrew? Your shoulders go one direction, your hips go the other, and then reverse the direction. Your hips go forward, back to the side, keeping your spine long. You don't, unless it feels good for you. Always do what feels good for your body. Maybe a little back and forth. That feels good for me. And now we're going to start the releasing part of our practice today. So take a nice deep inhale. And we're going to ha it out on the exhale. So inhale, exhale, ha. Inhale, exhale. Inhale into your nose and exhale out of your mouth. Shake it out. We built up all that energy, all that heat. Now we're going to go ahead and start releasing it. So make your way down to your mat with your feet out in front of you. I like to, unfluff the pillows to get the sit bones onto the ground there. Reaching your feet out in front of you, taking a moment. And then coming in to cradle the baby here, bringing your right knee towards your right hand, your right foot into your left hand. This is one version, guiding that lower leg up towards your body, bringing the knee back, noticing your hip moving maybe in circles or giving a little stretch. You can hold this wherever it feels good for your body. And as long as you can keep your spine straight, maybe think about bringing your elbows underneath the crease of your knee and ankle, your hands pointed toward you, if that feels good, or bringing your foot into the crease and clasping your hands in front of you, only as long as you can keep your spine nice and long. Whichever way you're doing is fine. Be kind to your body. Releasing any heat or tension out of your mouth as we begin to bring our breath back to its normal pace. From here, plant your foot down either on the inside or the outside of your left leg. And then we're going to twist to the right here. So twisting from your hips, twisting, maybe hugging onto that knee or bringing your right arm behind. And breathe. And then bringing your chest forward, releasing that right knee out to the side, and your left foot is on the inside of your opposite leg here. Reaching that left leg out. You can bend this knee if there's any tension underneath your knee. You can place a blanket or a block under there to support you. And then again, hinging from your hips, bring your chest forward until you feel your edge. And then bring your hands down, bring your chin to your chest, and breathe. Go ahead and bring your hands in toward your body. Reach your right leg out. Take a breath here. And then bend your left knee towards your left hand, finding your happy baby on this side, or cradling the baby, rather. I guess it could be half the baby, happy baby, if you want to bring your foot out to the side. Find what works for you. Rotating that hip. Making some circles, guiding it towards your chest, whatever feels good for your body. Keeping your spine upright, getting the stretch in. Rocking or staying still and static. And then releasing your foot down either on the inside or outside of your right leg. And then twisting over to the left. Your left arm maybe comes behind, right arm hugs into your knee or hugs your knee into your chest. And bring your chin or your chest toward the front. Bring your left knee out to the side and place the foot on the inside of your right leg. And then again, hinging from your hips. Shift forward. Your hands can come down on the ground or onto your blocks. And breathe. Start to press yourself up. Reach your left foot out. Take a moment to notice how that feels. Maybe give yourself a little leg shake. Then we're going to make our way onto our backs. Excuse me. Have a block handy. So we're going to lie back and have our feet underneath our knees. Our knees are going to be pointing up. We're going to lie back, excuse me. So your fingertips are reaching down towards your heels here. Your feet are still hip distance apart. So think about that for a moment. Your palms are on the ground. We're going to come into our bridge pose here. So as you exhale, raise your hips up toward the sky. Maybe tucking your shoulder blades underneath your upper back. Imagining you can keep your knees hip distance. It takes a little bit of effort, thought, and maybe kindness to yourself if that's not happening for you. Continuing to breathe. And as you're ready, maybe separate your shoulder blades. And then as you exhale, you can lower your hips back to the earth. And when your entire spine is on the ground, take a breath. And then sway your knees from side to side. We're going to do that bridge again, but this time we're going to take the block, or a bolster if you have one, underneath your sacrum. So this is going to be a restorative bridge, so I like to use the lowest level of the block. And then you'll raise your hips and place this right underneath the sacrum, which is that flat bone at the bottom of your spine, just above your sit bones. And then you'll rest your hips on there. So if you want to look without turning your head when you're on your back, like I am, you bring that right underneath your hips, feeling that flat bone. This should feel comfortable and resting. Make any adjustments you need. And from here you can keep your feet flat or do the version that you may like by bringing your feet out to the edge of the mat. That really gives a stretch on the front of the hips. Some people really enjoy that. Some bodies it's a little uncomfortable, like mine. Or you can bring your knees above your chest and then raise your legs up toward the sky. And for any inversion, any time that you have your head below your heart, just be kind to your body. If you notice any uncomfortable feeling, or if you start maybe tingling, or if you feel pressure in your eyes, you can come down and lower your hips down by removing your block. But if this feels good for you, stay here for, about 5 breaths. Your feet can be up or down, whatever feels good for your body. Maybe find stillness in whatever pose you choose, if that feels good. As you're ready, if your feet are up or out, bring them back to underneath your knees with your feet planted on the ground. And then maybe pressing into your feet or even raising your heels so that you can press into the earth and bring your hips up to remove your block. And then make sure your feet are flat on the ground and lower your hips back down. Maybe tilting your pelvis a little bit so that your whole back is on the ground. And then sway your knees from side to side. Coming to stillness here, bring your knees in toward your chest, really feeling that hinge the opposite direction than you've been doing, really. Feel it right there. And hug your lower legs or your upper legs into your chest. Maybe reach behind your thighs here. So you can really feel that hinge there, your mobility. Maybe bringing your hands to the front of your shins if that's available to you, keeping your shoulders down on the ground. And then taking your hands around your knees and making some circles. This helps you massage your back and also continues to lubricate those hip joints. Go both directions. And then reach your arms out into a T and lower your knees over toward your right side for a twist. For more of a twist, you can pick up your head and look over toward your left fingertips. On your next inhale, bring your knees above your chest, and as you exhale, lower them over to the other side. Maybe looking over the opposite shoulder if you'd like more of a twist. And then bring your knees back above your chest as you roll onto your back. Find a happy baby pose, reaching your feet up to the sky, your knees open to the sides of your mat. You can reach behind your shins or thighs, guiding your knees toward your armpits. And you can reach for your shins, your ankles, your feet, or your toes, maybe wrapping your big toe if that's available to you. Whatever feels good for you. You can rock or stay still. Letting your shoulders relax down onto the earth and your knees drip down toward your armpits. And then from here, bringing your feet and knees together, giving yourself another big hug around your knees, and on your next inhale, raise your forehead toward your knees and curl yourself into a little ball. And on your next exhale, release out and find your most comfortable position for Shavasana. Lying back, maybe you place something underneath your knees or underneath your head, or you cover yourself with a blanket. Wherever you are, start to imagine your toes releasing any tension from your feet, your ankles. Softening your lower legs and your knees. Softening your thighs, the backs of your legs. Relaxing your seat, your hips. Allow your belly to soften, your low back to relax. Imagine your chest releasing, your collarbones relaxing, your upper back feeling heavy into the earth, releasing your shoulders and your arms all the way down to your fingertips. Relax your neck and release your jaw. Soften your entire face and quiet your mind. Relaxing, releasing, and letting go. Bring your awareness back to your breath. Press each fingertip to your thumb, noticing an increased awareness of a quiet mind. Gently rotate your wrists and your ankles. Maybe rock your head from side to side. And as you're ready, curl up onto one side, fetal pose. For a last moment of quiet and stillness. Thank yourself for making it to the mat today. For giving yourself time of kindness. And to remember, time at rest is never wasted. And as you're ready, press yourself up to a seated position. And we'll close out our practice. It was truly an honor to guide you through this practice today. I hope you have a peaceful and powerful week. Namaste. Thank you, everybody. I am really sorry if at the end there was some noise. I lost my connection on the app, and it looks like it took me into live. I don't, like instead of a teacher, and I'm hoping that it didn't create feedback. If it did, I am really, really sorry. But this is a part of the Find Your Flow Friday, and so in about a half an hour, I'm going to be at my desk and guiding some people through some writing prompts, and then I hold space for you to get some free flow writing down. So if you would like to join for that, I really appreciate it. As always, if you have any comments or suggestions or anything like that, feel free to either email me at tina@thetinaclub.com or leave a message in the chat, or I believe there's a function where you can send me a message on the Insight Timer. Of course, any donations help me with my business. This week, it would actually help me because although I knew it was my starter, I had to pay to get my starter diagnosed, and then I have to wait for the starter to come in because for my 2009 car, there were no starters here in the city, so they had to order one. And so let's see, we had about 50 people here. If you are so moved, if everybody would give a buck or two, that would help pay for the diagnosis for my starter, because I'm not going to classes today, as the Uber or Lyft would cost as much as the class would be making. So I think it would just make sense for me to stay home and do it from video. So if you are so moved to donate, I certainly appreciate it. And you can do that at any time. And I hope to see you next Friday. We will be continuing this beginner flow practice. And I am going to be respectful of your time. We're about 4 minutes over, so I'm going to get my coffee and head into the other room for the writing portion. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.